Good evening and welcome to my hobby bench. And once again, if you look at the table, I've got this box here again. Recognize this box? Doesn't it look familiar to you? This was the same box, the very same box that I had the strangest Saito engine in the world in. Or the strangest Saito engine ever. Well, today, it doesn't have that particular engine in it, but it does have another engine in it. So let's look inside and see what's in this box this time. So we got the same documentation package. FA-50, Saito FA-50. Today, we actually have an FA-50 Saito engine in here. First thing I'm seeing in this box now is a brand new high-speed needle. And then we have this beautiful engine. And we've got a couple other things, so I'm just going to take them out and put off to the side here for now. So, this actually is a Saito 50 engine, and how I got this is an interesting story because it was because of that video, The Strangest Saito Ever, where that was actually an OS FS-60 engine. But a friend of mine, Mike, contacted me after seeing that video and he said, "Hey, are you looking for a Saito 50 engine?" I'm like, well, who's not? I mean, I'm always looking for a Saito engine, especially a 45 or a 50. I love those sizes. And he's like, well, I got one here. Make me an offer on it. It's been in a crash, and I'll give it to you for cheap. So we worked a deal. I got this engine for very inexpensive, and it does have a bent crankshaft. But I mean, look at this engine. The story that Mike told me, if I'm recalling it correctly, is that this was a brand new engine, flown one time. I don't know if it was ever run on the bench before that, but in the first flight in an airplane, something happened and it crashed and it bent the crankshaft. Now, when I got this was already off here. So Mike has been inside this engine, I believe. And it was really difficult for me to even tell that the crank was bent. I had to put a prop on here. And actually I didn't even do it. I couldn't see it with a prop. I just had this nut on here that came with it, and I was just spinning it and holding it up to the light, and eventually I could tell that yes, there is a bend, slight bend in the crank here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take it apart, because the other thing that's interesting that was in that box is I've got another Saito 50 crankshaft here and a prop nut, washer and prop nuts. This was given to me from another awesome friend, subscriber, viewer of the channel, Jeremy. And Jeremy is the one that actually provided me with the Thunder Tiger GP42 parts engine so that I could get that engine back going. And in the letter he had sent with that engine, he said, hey, if I have a need for parts in the future, let me know. I've been collecting Saito and OS parts for some time. So I asked him if he had one of these, and sure enough, he had a crankshaft, because I looked online and there were no crankshafts available for this engine. So once again, Jeremy comes and saves the day for this engine, because this is a brand new engine. I mean, look at this thing. And we're going to validate that, because I'm going to just start taking it apart right now. So it's, I don't know the exact story. Mike just told me first flight. Maybe it was even the first time it was ever run. I don't know. All I know is it's what it looks like. You'll see here shortly. I opened up the rear cover already, took the stuff off, because as I was turning it over, let me take this glow plug out. As I turned it over, I couldn't feel, obviously couldn't really feel that the crank was bent, but something didn't feel right in there. It just didn't. Something just didn't seem to feel right to me. So that's another reason I want to take this apart and see if there's any other internal damage. Like I said, I'm kind of thinking that Mike has already taken this engine apart, but I'm not entirely sure. So Mike, when you watch this video, let me know. So here's the exhaust that came with it. I don't even really see any exhaust carbon residue on there. I mean, the exhaust doesn't even really smell. So I got a brand new engine basically for next to nothing. But I did send a package to Jeremy as payment, so hopefully you'll be getting that very soon. for your kindness and generosity in providing now what is the missing link or missing piece to a nice Saito engine. So look at this. If that doesn't look like the inside of an engine that's never been run before, I don't know what does. See, there's that. It's just something doesn't sound right there. So let's take these rocker covers off. Oh, we're missing a rocker cover screw. I don't know. Mike didn't say that there's any other damage to this engine, but you never know. You never know what we might find when we disassemble this thing. Maybe that's just the way it sounds, but it just sounds and feels a little bit different than what I'm kind of used to hearing. Everything seems like it's... I don't know, let's just continue taking this thing apart and see what we got going on here. Now the shame is that this is like basically a brand new engine, but it almost has to be almost completely disassembled just to get the crankshaft out and to replace the crankshaft. Now I'm hoping that obviously the bearings are still good, so I'm hoping that I can get the crankshaft out without, you know, causing any kind of damage or undue stress to the bearings, because look at that. I mean, it's a brand new engine. There's no need in replacing bearings, and I don't have a set on hand anyway, so I don't want to do that, especially since there's probably nothing wrong with these. Tomorrow the wind is going to pick up and the temperatures are going to drop dramatically, and the next few days are going to be somewhat uncomfortable to say the least. So with that said, I brought my arbor press up here because today in the mail I got all kinds of stuff for that strangest Saito engine ever, the OS FA-50. I got all the bearings and gaskets I need to rebuild that. So okay, so man, it just sucks. That crankshaft looks so perfect. And this crankshaft actually looks different. I'm gonna have to compare and make sure that this crankshaft looks like it's milled out differently here. I don't know that these two crankshafts are interchangeable. Oops. This does say it's a Saito 50 engine, and this says it's a Saito 50 crankshaft. But just looking at the top there, that top part's milled out and this one's not. Crank pin looks different on it too. I don't know. Maybe this isn't the right crankshaft for this engine. Maybe it's just an optical illusion. I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's see what this piston looks like. Connecting rod, make sure we don't have any kind of weird stuff going on there. Look at that. I mean, it's brand new. What a shame. It's going to be a real shame if I can't use that crankshaft. Maybe it's just a slightly later Saito 50 engine, and that may be an earlier crankshaft. I don't know. Won't know until I get it out and I don't know if I'm going to have the means to actually get it out here tonight or not. Got the heat gun and everything up here. It's just a matter of, do I have a firm enough surface? Man, look at that thing. It's just brand new. Jeez, this is just such a... Oh, look at that. Well, I guess there was no stress there. Now this thing has these pinion gear and the spacer. Let's just go ahead and... I'm going to probably have to get a little bit of oil. I want to clean this up, so you're going to get a little bit of first-hand experience, or first-hand watching me clean up a crankshaft here real quick. Hopefully you don't get too bored. Maybe they are the same. I mean, there's clearly a cutout here that is not. On this one. Let's just see if this thing will slide in here. Oh yeah, before I do that, I need to put the pinion gear on here. I'm going to use all of the other newer things. That's not one to just slide on there. That one does. It's interesting. I wonder why that's just not going on there like that. Let me get my calipers. Mission 8.14 there. Eight point oh, 7.9. Definitely different. Eight point 8.17. It's definitely different. It's interesting. See if the sleeves are the same. It should be the same. That go through there like that. See, that's the issue, is that I have to try to doing this with the bearings in place. Trying to do this with the bearings in place is interesting. Let's just, for the heck, let's just do this. Let's just slide it in there. So it does fit. Just kind of gonna throw this thing together here real quick. Not really throw it together, just put it, assemble it here real quickly and see. Come on. Seems like it's going to be a fine. There must be, they must have been, this crankshaft here that's in here must have come from a very early engine. And this one's clearly, where's that crankshaft at? This one's clearly a little bit later. That's interesting. I don't want to take these bearings out, so I want to try to figure out if I can kind of finagle that in this. There we go. All right, so we got the, I won't say new crankshaft, I'll say Jeremy's donated crankshaft. That's really interesting. Very interesting. So this one, you know what I should do? Oh boy, before I do that, I'm going to pause the video. Since that didn't seem very difficult to do, I'm going to pause the videos. I'm going to go grab my scale. And I'm going to weigh these two crankshafts and see what the difference in weight is in the two crankshafts. So stand by. Okay, I got my scale here. I don't know if you can read that or not. I can't read that looking at my viewfinder here, but I'm going to put this new crankshaft that came out of the engine on here. It's at 56 grams. 56 grams. This crank that Jeremy sent me is 52 grams. 53 grams. Now, just for the hell of it, let's do this stack up here with that pinion gear and this 61 grams. Now let's do this pinion gear and this sleeve, 57 grams. So we got some weight difference here. What did I say this one was? 61. 57. That's 4 grams difference. What was the difference between just the crankshafts themselves? 52. 56. So we got 4 grams. Wow. Now, one thing is that this crankshaft or crank pin is hollow. You can see the light passing through there. This one is not. That's interesting. Very interesting. I'm not sure what to make of that other than I don't really have a choice. This crankshaft is clearly bent. It can't be, I mean, I could probably find somebody that might be able to try and straighten it. Possibly. These things go on this crankshaft. But we're going to just assemble this engine like this. And I wonder how it's going to run with that weight difference like that. Alright, so that's in there. Alright, so anyway, this video has kind of gone on long enough. We've seen that I have essentially a brand new Saito 50 engine that has a bent crankshaft. I've got a replacement crankshaft, however, they don't weigh the same. Ooh, and why? They're both Saito 50 engines. So obviously something, this crankshaft that's in here now is one from an earlier engine. And this one is a later variant. Is that going to make a big difference? I don't know. I'm sure people that are watching these videos that have a lot more experience with that type of thing than I do will chime in and let me know if I've got an issue here or not. What was it, a 4-gram difference between these two crankshafts? I don't know what that means really. But we're not going to know for months because it's winter and I'm not going to be able to run this engine anytime soon. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But anyway, thank you very much, Jeremy, for sending me this crankshaft. Thank you very much, Mike, for giving me an awesome deal on this engine. And thank you all for watching. And I look forward to the comments on this because right now I'm kind of baffled.